everybody, and welcome to the Festival of the Books Rejection Letter Open Mic, a reading series for rejection letters and rejection-themed work. I'm Virginia Zeck, I'm your moderator, and we have a number of readings today. Kevin Canty, Rachel Mindell, J. Robert Lennon, Marianne Pelaya, Chris Price, and Josh Wagner. But there's still room on the sign-up sheet, so if you want to participate, just come sign up. I'm going to try to remove a layer of formality from this and not come up in between every reader and just sort of, they can introduce themselves as they go, and I'll just sort of call your name when it's your turn. So we're going to kick it off with Josh Wagner.
Hey everybody, my name's Josh, and I'm a novelist and comic book creator. For a long time, I did a lot of self-publishing, and there's pros and cons to that. And I didn't realize that one of the cons, I guess it's not really a con, to having an actual publisher and having actual people read your work that aren't just part of your family, is that some of them hate it. And some of them are very vocal about how they hate it. So when I was did not have really any exposure at all I got was glowing reviews from the people that love me. And as soon as the books started getting out there, I got my first negative review. And by this time I was in my late 30s, and so it just felt wonderful. It felt like, in a way, it was like, oh, I finally made it, because now some stranger in some weird part of the planet thinks I'm the worst writer that he's ever read. And that's sort of a badge of honor. So I really wanted to read that, this one here. And it also ties into Missoula, because the book that he was reviewing is called Smashing Laptops, and it's a book about Missoula, about my 20s here. And this is his lovely review. 2 stars. So he's being generous. You know, all this obnoxious hipster media you can't escape these days? The photos with the pretentious color effects, the languorous black and whites, the YouTube videos of skinny beatniks in designer flannel with icy white bitches, wearing pajamas and big sunglasses, Apple commercials, etc., etc. Well, this guy wanted to transfer that effect to belles lettres. As a man who once smashed his laptop and 5 years later finds himself tacking away on one, the title itself made me nauseous. Another pretentious, man, this guy has words I don't even know. Does anyone know French out here? D-E-R-A-C-I-N-E, Deracine? Or maybe it's Italian? Deracine? I don't know. Well, anyway, first he says pretentious, and then he uses that word, so. Who fancies himself a, quote, nomad, his life, quote, romantic, full of, quote, adventures. Page 1, first paragraph, Oakland mention. Page 1, second paragraph, phrase, quote, hanging out in San Francisco, unquote, occurs. LOL. Missoula. Mushrooms! I had an experience! This is not writing, it is gossip. A hipster falling in love with his own uninteresting barroom drivel. The sort of crap that would drive me out of a bar if I overheard it. Thank you.
I'm Rachel Mindell. My phone might die, so I'm just gonna do this. Try to do it quickly. So I gave this a title. It's 2 kinds of rejections. It's either fuck off, or it's fuck off, come back soon. All right. So I thought I would just speed read for like 3 minutes, the rejection letters I've received since June 5th. And I'm starting to notice, a pattern, as I'm sure you had. They always start We work really hard, right? Which means we've thoroughly considered you, we've carefully considered, we're on top of our shit. We're so sorry it's taken us 7 months. We've just been so busy. Things don't fit, which is like a weird sexual, and things just don't fit, right? You don't fit. The favorable rejection, the try again soon, we'd like to hear more work, and then thanks, right? Okay. Dear Rachel Mindell, we really enjoyed reading your submissions, but unfortunately it didn't work for us, so we'll have to say no. We get a lot of submissions and can only use a fraction of them, so please understand. No most likely means not quite the right fit, not no good. Sincerely, Andrew Monson. That was actually a nice one. He responded to me personally. Dear Rachel Mindell, thank you for sending us this set of poems. We appreciate the chance to read them. Unfortunately, the work is not right for us. Best of luck placing these elsewhere, and please consider sending more in the future. Sincerely, Reginald. Dear Rachel Mindell, we have carefully considered your submission to the inaugural chapbook contest. We are grateful for your support as we make expansion into print. While we appreciate the chance to have read your manuscript, it ultimately was not the right fit for us at this time. Sincerely, Ghost Proposal. Dear Rachel Mindell, we have carefully considered your submission to the chapbook competition. While we appreciate the chance to have read your poems, our editors did not feel that your submission was right for us. Sincerely, Vogue Press. Dear Rachel Mindell, thank you for submitting the batch of poems to the Adroit Journal. After a careful review of your submission, the staff has decided that this is not quite right for this journal at this time. Sincerely, the Adroit Journal. Dear Rachel Mindell, thank you for your latest submission. As in the past, we enjoyed your poems and are pleased to have read these pieces. In particular, that's another really nice one. In particular, this one, we picked out this one really quickly. Kind regards, that was Thrush, that was nice. And I'll just read one more. Dear Rachel Mindell, thank you for sending us Real, Sedlec, Okay Stupid, and Chili Pekin. We appreciate the chance to read it. Unfortunately, it is not the right fit for us. Thanks again. Best of luck. Sincerely, Flag and Parade. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chris Price. I'm just have more of these at home, so I brought some of what I thought may be the wittiest of rejections as a poet. So I'm gonna read through them, and you'll find some that are always the same, like thanks, keep creating, and so on and so forth, which always seems to be a trend. But I'm gonna read through some of them, and because I think some of them are quite funny and interesting. So, dear Mr. Price, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Although we don't feel our journal is quite the right match for your work right now, we did enjoy getting to share the glimpse of your world. Oh, thank you. Keep going and keep making and keep creating. Cheers. All the best of luck. All right. Another one, let's see. It was an absolute pleasure reading your poems and appreciating the wonderful language and emotions at play. They, however, are different from what we are looking for in close, not allow us to include them at this time. We're confident they will find a home elsewhere, which is also a great trend that everyone always says when they don't really want to tell you something. So there's that. Thank you for sending us your work. We appreciate the chance to read it. Oh, this one's interesting. Now, don't take this the wrong way. Okay. But we're going to have to turn down your pieces, and oh, by the way, in pieces, the S is large, and piece S, okay? Away into the cold. Sometimes we've already got a similar piece. Sometimes we've seen a few too many like it lately. And sometimes we're just in a bad mood and feel better taking it out on you, the writer who submitted. By the way, that was Ampersand's books. Let's see. Thank you. Our editorial board read your work with interest. Unfortunately, we did not feel that your work is the best fit for our journal at this time. Oh, this one. This is not reflective of the quality of your writing. Subjective tastes play an important part in the assessment process. We're sorry, but hopefully you can endure us. And then this is also interesting, but hope that you will consider submitting again in future reading periods to us after they bash. All right. Let's see. Unfortunately, we decided your submission wasn't right for us. Don't let it get you down, though. We encourage you to submit to us in the future. Let's see. Hi, Mr. Price. I wish I had better news. Generally okay, yeah. But unfortunately, we're going to have to pass on this. We still cherish the fact that you gave us a shot and wish you the best of luck in your writing endeavors. Let's see. We were intrigued by your writing, but didn't feel this was right for us. Here's one about writing. As writers, we understand how much work goes into creating and submitting your pieces. Unfortunately, this work does not fit in with the current issue which we're working on. We appreciate you taking the time. Try us again. Just stop me if I'm going too long. Here we go. Here's something. Okay. Dear Mr. Price, we appreciate the bravery it takes to entrust your work to strangers. We are ecstatic. However, for the publication, unfortunately, we are not able to publish you at this time. Try us again. Have a look next time. Let's see. They all pretty much say the same. Okay. Dear Mr. Price, thank you for sending your work. We gave it careful consideration, but I'm afraid we have to decline the submission. We are all writers ourselves, so we know how much these things can sting. Nevertheless, we appreciate your considering us for your work. Best of luck with you. Rejection. Push small number. We no. Also no. Oh, here's interesting. Okay. Dear poet, not even my name, just dear poet. Okay, all right. Thank you for sending us your work here at Mustard Seed. We are sorry this particular manuscript was not selected for this publication. Wishing you best luck elsewhere. While we regret that the high volume of submissions we receive make it difficult for us to issue personal response, which is also another, personal response. I like that. We want you to know your submission is considered thoroughly evaluated. But thanks anyway, no. So, thank you.
This is kind of an archive. I kept my rejection letters for a long time, and then I decided that was neurotic behavior, and I thought I'd thrown them away. But when Virginia asked the other day, I looked, and lo and behold, there's a folder at the back of my file cabinet that says rejection. So the prize of the lot. Here's a vintage mid-'80s cut bank rejection. Yeah. The editors of Cut Bank regret having to return the enclosed material, but thank you very much for your interest. And there are a lot of form letters in here from great places. The Paris Review sent me a mimeograph sheet, as did Esquire, as did the Echo Press, as did Antaeus, as did everybody else. But I want to read a series of great rejection letters. So on New Yorker letterhead, it is typed and signed by a human being. It says, "Dear Kevin Canty, I'm sorry the story of yours didn't work out. Your style is fluent, and I appreciated the opportunity to read your work. Thanks again, and all good wishes, Alice Quinn." Next, "Dear Kevin Canty, in spite of the fluid writing and your grip on the material, this does read as if it introduces something much larger. It has a very leisurely pace. I'm sorry it didn't work out here. All good wishes, Alice Quinn. Here's a few Atlantic ones. Dear Kevin, this is nicely written and sharply observed, but it isn't very conclusive and we're not drawn to it. Will you try this again? From Michael Curtis of The Atlantic. Here's the Xerox version. Though the manuscript you sent was not found a place with The Atlantic, we thank you for your chance to consider it. Best of luck in placing it elsewhere. So this is 30 years old, so this best of luck in placing it out there elsewhere trope has been in business for longer than most of you have been alive. So just in case you're wondering. Dear Kevin, the writing is strong and engaging, but the story doesn't hang together very well or seem focused. You're awfully good though, and I hope you'll try us again soon. Michael Curtis. New Yorker, form letter with a note scrawled at the bottom of it. Sorry to say this submission isn't quite right for us in spite of its evident merit. This is the mass-produced version, too. Evident merit. Fortunately, we're receiving so many manuscripts that it's become impossible for us to make specific comments about as many of them as we would like to. We do thank you for the chance to consider the work. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Thanks for trying. All good wishes, Alice Quinn. This is just a series. This is more. Dear Kevin Canty, thanks for connecting. This is fascinating. And the description of the clandestine relationship and the narrator's wild guilt seem right on the mark and are very involving, but the way in which the guilt affects the rest of the narrator's life, primarily with his family, seems less thought out. It seems to us that the questions of the story raises need a little more thought. Materials so powerful and disturbing, but another editor and magazine may feel very differently. And I don't feel the story really belongs here. Thanks again for letting us read it. And all good wishes, Alice Quinn. For those of you who read my first collection, that's a rejection letter for Pretty Judy from the New Yorker, which is, yeah. So, and the last one before I quit. Dear Kevin Canty, this is a captivating story. It's energetic and clear and full of engrossing details. I'm afraid it isn't quite right for us, though, in that so much of the material here is basically familiar adolescent stuff, and there's nothing new or unusual added on other than your good writing, of course. The zoo scene, the foreboding note at the end are a hint of something more complex, but this isn't quite enough for us, alas. Thanks for the introduction to your work, and do try us again soon. Yours, Deborah Garrison. And 10 years after that, I got published in the goddamn New Yorker.
J. Robert Lennon, please.
Kevin, did you ever get one of those crazy Gordon Lish rejections from the Quarterly?
No.
He used to. I don't know if he still does this, but they would send stuff back. Like I would send stories out, and theirs would come back immediately, like within days, sent from Missoula. So it was clear that they were sending it out the same day it came in, and it was basically a long one-sentence paragraph, like of about 500 words. It would be some crazy rant. And it was clearly like Xerox, but every time you got one, it was different. It was a different crazy rant. And I just remember these exist. I'm sure I have them somewhere. Anyway, I looked at my rejections. Oh, and by the way, I like Rachel's idea that this is these are somehow crypto-sexual. I was thinking when Kevin said, "Dear Kevin Canty, thanks for connecting." But it didn't quite fit. Anyway, I went through my archives and found a bunch of rejections, and after reading a bunch of them, they all just seemed to say, "You're not quite good enough at writing," and that I didn't want to read them. So I wrote one as a short story. So it's a fictional rejection. This is the stupidest thing I've ever written, but I do wish that real rejections were more like this. Dear Mr. Fodor Damson, thank you for submitting your work to our journal. After long consideration, we have decided that it isn't for us, by which we mean the work specifically, your poem cycle, 9 recapitulations of a false notion, and not the manuscript itself, which is the only one we received during the submission period printed on paper. That we're keeping. There is some debate around the office about whether or not it was even conceptually possible to reject 9 recaps. Pardon the abbreviation, we have a repetitive stress injury, and it hurts to type for very long, and your title is really quite a mouthful, or we suppose handful. As there is only one acceptable way to submit to our journal, and that is through the online portal we have provided for that purpose. Not only do we not accept manuscripts through the mail, we do not even make our address public. In fact, we don't have an address. We don't have an office. We know we just said around the office, and by that we mean whatever apartment, kitchen, coffee shop, bar, or pancake parlor the editorial board happens to be gathered at, within, around, or near. If we're in a car on the way to see our friend's terrible band play at a state fair, that car is our office. If we happen to run into each other in a city crosswalk and in passing mention that we're not super wild about your manuscript, then for those few moments, that crosswalk is our office. If we end up stuck in an elevator during a power outage on the way to our snotty nephew's law office in order to buy him lunch, even though he makes more money than us, that moist, fetid, increasingly warm elevator is our office. If one of us has finally snapped after years of struggle with an advanced, barely suppressed violent psychosis and murders the rest of the editorial board, then ends his or her own life, and all of our souls are doomed for eternity to haunt the abandoned Super Kmart where the killer lured us for this purpose, and those are the circumstances under which we discussed your manuscript, then the ethereal plane overlaying that disused, corpse-strewn Super Kmart is our office. Nevertheless, you managed to get this manuscript to us somehow in a very dirty-looking brown paper envelope with the name of our journal sharpied onto one side and your name and P.O. box onto the other. There it was on the table in front of us at our office. In this particular instance, our office was Annabelle's garage right before the poker game. So maybe you put it there. Maybe you know Annabelle. She doesn't remember you, but perhaps Archifridge XG Fodor Damson is a pseudonym. In any event, however you got this thing to us, we did read it and we're not going to publish it. So technical disqualifications aside, we regret to inform you that I guess we're rejecting it. But like we said, we're keeping the paper manuscript. For one thing, it smells like the Territons our grandmother used to smoke. At first, some of us thought that couldn't be right. Surely Territons weren't that distinctive smelling. It must have been the moth flakes in Grandma's dress or the store-brand chocolate-covered pretzels she was always eating that we were really recalling. And anyway, Territons were no longer available, right? But we looked it up, and lo and behold, they're still for sale online. So we ordered some and smoked them. And wow, instant grandma. She's been dead for 4 years. We were at her bedside when she went, and right before the end, she beckoned us closer, pressed her papery cold lips to our ear, and whispered, "Your granddad was a flimper. Don't tell your mother." And we said, "Wait, he was a what?" But it was too late. The old lady was dead. We're pretty sure she said flimper. We looked it up later, though, and it's not a thing. Clearly it meant something to Grandma, but what? An ethnic group? A religious sect? A sex act? If the latter, did Grandma enjoy the flimping or merely endure it? So, whomever you are, you managed to get your hands on some Territons. Maybe you're an old fella. Maybe you're an enterprising young hipster trying to rock some previously unresurrected cul-de-sac of retro. Or maybe, and this is why honestly we're not returning your poem cycle, you're trying to send us a message. Or more specifically, a threat? Oh sure, 9R might not have impressed us as poetry. Pardon again the abbreviation, but our digits are really barking right now. But you can bet we read it more closely than we've ever read a submission in the entire short history of this journal. Our analytical abilities were at full strength in the wake of the 8th of Encyclopedia Green we baked into brownies and devoured in Annabelle's garage, and the innuendo fairly leapt off your creased and furred pages. Quote, "Loretta, my sweet, imprisoner, my fair, warden, unlock these, womanicals," is clearly a reference to Janet's past. We don't know how you found out about the accident, but she plea bargained away her debt to society, settled with the prison, and has nothing more to hide. Likewise, your lines pointing to Dan's infidelity, "Frisky, husky one, heavy of haunch and heart, roll away, for your excesses choke me, upon this feather tick of shame. Don't frighten us. He and Karen have overcome their marital difficulties, and anyway, Judith is doing great in Jenny Craig, and it's all cool now. And I don't know how you found out about Frank's husband's immigration status, but it's going to take more than, quote, return, visitors of gray and green to starry distant homes assume no longer deceptive shapes of passers-by. The fact is, we've got people on this, Mr. So-called Fodor Damson, or should I say, faker dumbass. Kevin has a brother who knows a guy. Hell, Ursula has a brother who is a guy. Sadie's aunt works in the genetics lab, and we've got her testing a sample of your manuscript paper. Vernon's mom is looking at the envelope right now. She does handwriting analysis and criminal profiling, and is also a psychic, and did the painting for the cover of issue 5. She keeps pretty busy, Vernon's mom. And Yolanda's dad's law firm has agreed to represent us pro bono, pending our investigative results. Not that we'll need their help, Mr. Scratchy Pencil BS font scam stanza, because this editorial board is unblackmailable. We're getting out in front of that shit so hard. Georgia doesn't care who knows about her malformed, surgically detached, humanely euthanized twin. Harvey is totally open about his STDs, at least the disfiguring ones. Of course, Jo Ellen didn't really fight in Desert Storm. We all assumed she was kidding anyway. Doug tells everybody why he was defrocked. It's not just the kids' parents who know. And yeah, of course Wally was the source for Tabitha's pseudonymous expose of the novel Roberta plagiarized from Bob's posthumous papers. Oh, and on the subject of Bob, yes, autoerotic asphyxiation, duh. So put that in your Terrytons and smoke it. Suck scribble, F you crapdactyl. Booyah, bam, rejected. Rejection for life. Why don't you self-publish your stupid poem cycle in your ass? Because it sure isn't going to be published in our journal, that's for damn sure. That said, thanks for your interest. And please share our Kickstarter campaign on social media. Link below. Sincerely, the editors.
Thanks, John. And thanks to our other readers, Chris, Josh, Rachel, and Kevin. We have one more reader, Marian Palaya, who has a time conflict and isn't here yet, because apparently people read their rejection letters as quickly as possible. This just went by really quickly. So my idea is let's take a quick intermission, because who doesn't want to drink after all that, and reconvene in 10 minutes, and maybe in the interim, some of you will summon your courage and sign up. Yeah? So let's take 10, and then see where that leads us. And Marian Palaya is going to do our final reading tonight. Thank you.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I just have a couple of my favorites. These are not rejections. These are my Goodreads reviews, and you guys are familiar with Goodreads. Goodreads reviews are written by people a lot of people who should not be allowed to be around books. Like step away from the pages. But they're kind of hysterical. Nobody warns you when you publish your first book not to read your Goodreads reviews. And it's rather astonishing how demoralizing it can be. So just a couple of my favorite ones. I got some nice ones too. They aren't all bad. This is by Emily. She gave me 2 stars out of 5. Alas, this was not the book for me. If you think you would enjoy the literary love child of Rachel Kushner and Lena Dunham, it just might be the book for you. This book really did not grab me. The main character is a hot mess. Although she is interesting and complex, she's lost and not really able to tell her own story. That's enough for her. Okay, Rana says, all right, so the book, the prologue is set in 1994 in Saigon. And it's called prologue for a reason. It's not chapter 1. Then it begins at chapter 1 and it goes completely chronologically from there to the end of the book. But people seem to be very confused by the prologue aspect of it, so I might not do that again. I don't know. A little bouncy in time for my liking. One of those stories that when it's clicking, it's really clicking, but when it's not, it's just words on a page with no emotion. This was a hard read, and it doesn't get any better throughout the entire book. I really struggled to understand the message and what the purpose of the book was. And you know, the temptation to email these people is almost overwhelming, but you can't do that. You don't want to get down and roll around in the mud with these people. Anyway, my favorite one I know by heart, and I think it was a 1-star review. And I'm not going to get into those because I don't want to look at them right now, but it said, maybe it was 3 stars. Maybe this was a more generous one. Anyway, it said, "It is sad and depressing. It is about being lost. It is very well written." Thank you.
So my name is Jess. Okay, that's not gonna happen. I write young adult fantasy with animal characters. I tell people it's Lion King meets Lord of the Rings. So I get some interesting reviews on Amazon. Let me pull a couple up real fast, so talk amongst yourselves. Because on the phone it's a little bit awkward to find the reviews. Talk amongst yourselves. Wait, Lauren, come help me. How do you get to the reviews? Oh, it just goes by page. Hang on. Books, okay, interesting read. So I got a 3-star review that said this book was fairly well written, a little YA-ish, but good. And I thought, okay, excellent, I succeeded. I got a 1-star review that has since been taken down by a grandmother who was angry that she couldn't get the paperback for her nephew because it was an ebook. And enough people said, you know, that's not the author, that's Amazon. Hold on, I'm gonna find him. There was one. I'm gonna have to paraphrase it because I can't find it. Basically, the characters are all animals, and the reviewer gave 3 stars and said, I just don't think the book was meant for me at this time. Apparently, Griffin angst is too much like real teenage angst, and I just couldn't get through it. So that's my favorite review so far, but still a generous 3 stars. And since I can't scroll through them very well, I think I'll just stop there. But, yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this up, Kevin has asked me to read a review of one of his books. 1 star, horrible read, it is called. This has to be the worst book I have ever read. The characters do not seem to have a straight thought in the entire book. The writing is disjointed. The plot lines lead nowhere. A thoroughly disappointing ending, and sludging through all those pages of dribble. But 0 out of 5 people found that helpful, so. Okay, so thanks everybody for coming. I don't really have any rejections to read because I'm too lazy to submit, so I don't get any. But someone in this room once called one of my stories too easy and too stupid. So, thanks guys.